Obviously you should not be saying we can cure asthma in 15 days. That's not happening. That should not happen. Your website is an extension of who you are. So randomly filling it up with what is acne, acne does this, bad food causes acne, or what is asthma, asthma needs this, and then talking of, okay, you may need inhalers in asthma, but if you're a homeopath, why are you talking of inhalers on your website? If they search ADHD and homeopathy, the results, I will perhaps never make it even to the 12th page, if I'm to be honest with you, even with the best SEO, because there's so much content ahead of it. But if that patient searches ADHD homeopathy cyan or ADHD homeopathy dadar, then my website might make it still to the second page. In our CMEs, in our conferences, I think we should normalize talking about tech, but more importantly, that tech should be from a medical perspective and not just random tech. The way a particular payment gateway portal is useful for a small company selling hair care products is not the same way a payment gateway portal is useful for a doctor. The way a credit card scanning machine is useful at a petrol pump, for the tap, is not the same way it is going to be used at a doctor. The charges sometimes are exorbitantly expensive for a doctor. So to understand the nuances of the tech, what is useful where, the the discussions that we have should be medically oriented. And
So, if I were to ask you, as now, see, what you have spoken about is a lot of large scale organizations. Someone with like 1,000 articles means, it's almost, I mean, if I consider a website who would be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 pages, 1,000 is like way big. Now, for someone who is making a smaller website, particularly, what is that you would recommend when it comes to, I would not ask for very specifics, but कैसा होना चाहिए website, कंटेंट राइटिंग ऐसा होना चाहिए वेबसाइट का?
correct. Thank you for not asking for specifics, because we charge for that.
Yes.
Obviously, that's our skill set. So I think what you're looking at is the average doctor who's perhaps not really looking out for an SEO strategy, not looking for page hits in that sense, not looking for a keyword ranking or a domain authority for their website, but looking at a complete set of content on their site. For example, a very recent project for a dental clinic. Now they have 15, 16 services that they would like to elaborate about: Invisalign, root canal, what is root canal, smile makeover, what all does a smile makeover entail, something like that, if I get your question right. It is very important for a doctor or a team of doctors who are running a small clinic, a small nursing home, to understand, one, who is their target audience. In business terminology, it's B2B and B2C. So we've had a pathologist who approached us saying he has enough of B2C clientele, but now wants to cater to the B2B clientele and attract more corporate customers, tie-ups. Was looking for a completely different marketing strategy. Most doctors are not looking for B2B; they are looking for B2C. They are looking to seem relevant, where they are hoping that for some reason their name comes up on a Google search, or XYZ person has recommended their name to Mr. ABC, and Mr. ABC, when they do a Google search, their site pops up. They read their things, okay, he's available on so and so date, she's now consulting on so and so days. Then beyond that, like I mentioned absolutely in the first question that we had, it is the bridge between the brand and the audience. The doctor, a singular doctor, himself or herself, is also a brand. What is a brand? The brand is that image that they express about themselves. So how your website is made, the colors, the cleanliness, what all services are you offering, are you going all over the place, everyone has a different flavor of their own, right? Everyone is a brand by themselves. A average website like this should at the very least talk about the doctor, the doctor's journey, base education, graduation, medical qualifications, and expertise, or what they are particularly taking interest in. If it is more than a doctor, then it should have a mention of the team, because all of those are important keywords which will come up in search. So talk about the team, have some brief about the team, decide what it is that you are going to focus most on as a doctor. Like some doctors want to focus, some dentists want to focus on pediatric dentistry, some doctors these days want to focus on geriatrics, some homeopaths want to focus on allergies some want to focus on asthma, some want to focus on pediatric complaints, PCOD. Take the base set of your disease conditions. Try and elaborate that disease condition in a simple way. Do understand you are not here to reinvent the wheel. A simple Google search would anyway tell the patient whatever it is they're seeking for, whether it is the most common symptoms, what are the warning signs to watch out for, what are the investigations to do. Instead, try and bring your flavor to it. Try and talk of how you approach these cases. Try and talk of your experience of these cases. That what do you see happens in some cases. For example, again, quoting out of a playbook, that if there is a homeopath who is specializing in PCOD cases, then what is it that he or she does differently to approach that particular case, or what is their methodology? What can the patient expect? The patient should perhaps be oriented to expect that there would be a sonography once in 3 months. So anything that helps you communicate more clearly to the patient, helps them orient themselves about your persona, about your method of functioning, about the expected outcomes before they decide to book an appointment with you and reach your clinic. That is the whole concept of this digital presence, and to some extent what also qualifies as digital marketing is your website is an extension of who you are. So randomly filling it up with what is acne, acne does this, bad food causes acne, or what is asthma, asthma needs this, and then talking of, okay, you may need inhalers in asthma, but if you're a homeopath, why are you talking of inhalers on your website? At the same time, with a small throwback to our previous podcast, obviously you should not be saying we can cure asthma in 15 days. That's not happening. That should not happen, right? So it would be good to have a content consultant to kind of guide you, but an average website cannot be launched with no such content. It's a very bad idea. At the same time, you can't flood all the content there. You must go in a structured manner, have a set number of articles over a period of few months, track the metrics, see which articles are performing better, see what is coming up in the Google search, look at the page views, look at the page ranking, look at the engagement rate on those particular pages, check out the demographics, where is your target audience coming from, that check out demographics of the age group of your target audience. Sometimes that gives you a clue as to who is actually looking for the kind of services that you're providing, and then some keyword research will help you understand what is it that you should perhaps start talking more of, right? For example, if you find that you're in a particular area where there is a lot of migratory population, like some parts of Pune, some parts of Bangalore, then you know that you have to appeal to a particular target audience that is very transient, and they are probably going to search for you in terms of emergency, and therefore your availability is the key factor for them. So then you have to start writing accordingly of conditions that they might be searching for in case of emergency. So they land onto your site, and then of course need to have the right funnel to make sure they initiate the right contact with you, and then once you get that, what is known as a lead in marketing parlance, lead conversion, all of that is a whole different process. But I hope broadly this answers what you were looking for.
I think it does, but then I, at the same time, see what I have seen is either a website is made, it is once it is made, no one touches it, and that also brings me to the question कि, of course I'll bring it later on, कि वेबसाइट बनाना जरूरी है क्या, मेरे पास तो पेशेंट है, तो why do I need website, why do I need content, why do I need social media, for later. But when we create a website, how often do you think it should be updated? When I say updated, not just in the technical part about the backend, but when it comes to the like adding short articles or maybe some infographics, whatever it would be, would just tell us about that.
So again, it depends on which kind of website we are talking of, in the sense that obviously
For practitioners.
For practitioners only. So for a simple doctor, I think doctors will perhaps never manage to hit those high Google page results, the high ranking, because there are so many major organizations who are spending lakhs of rupees every month to be there high up in the results, right? So why should a website be updated is for Google crawlers to recognize that a particular website is being updated, and therefore that content is considered higher in the page rank. If one of my patients searches for, let's say, ADHD and homeopathy, for example, because that's another topic we've been discussing. If they search ADHD and homeopathy, the results I will perhaps never make it even to the 12th page, if I'm to be honest with you, even with the best SEO, because there's so much content ahead of it. But if that patient searches ADHD homeopathy cyan or ADHD homeopathy dadar, then my website might make it still to the second page, still might not make it to the first page. So, why are we updating this site? Is it to make sure that we are reaching Google page ranking? Then I think, with all due respect, most individual singular doctors are wasting their resources. So, if an individual doctor is going ahead with updating their website because they want to get higher in a Google page rank, then I think it's a waste of their resources, because you can't, each doctor cannot be competing with each other to get on the top of a Google page result. That's not how it's going to work. And that's not how we doctors are trained to work in the sense. But yes, you should update your site. Why? Let's say you've done a new certification. Let's say you added a new equipment at your clinic. Let's say you added a new therapy protocol. You've spoken at a particular conference. You awarded something. You've published a new research paper. All of that, where else are you going to be able to exhibit in the digital space? You may put it up at the notice board in your clinic. You may post it on your Instagram or LinkedIn profile. May. Like, you may not be able to put a research paper on your Instagram profile. But how many of your patients are checking your Instagram profile? And do they search Instagram first? No, they search Google first. So your website will come up there, and when they click on your website, they should be aware that this doctor, the potential doctor that they are about to visit, has this XYZ certification or has recently done a better course from some institute for a better, whatever, painless root canal kind of a treatment, or has got some new equipment. So your website for every doctor is your personal digital space. You don't have this control on any of the other apps that represent you, any of the other portals, without getting into any of those names. When they come to your clinic, take your visiting card and publish some details about you, you don't have the freedom to press one button and say, hey, edit this about me. You have to send in a request, pay XYZ amounts, and that's when that happens. Your Facebook profile may be a mix of your personal plus professional pursuits, right? So, what is your space? Your Google business listing, your GMB, Google My Business Listing, and your website. These are your personal spaces. But again, the Google My Business Listing is subject to Google's policies of what content may be allowed, what may not be allowed, and that also changes quite frequently. Sometimes you lose, control of your GMB altogether. But your website, your domain, your server space, and the code that is deployed is the best representation of you on the internet. And if you update it frequently, it just shows that you are active, conveys a stronger, better message to your potential patients or your existing patients, who will feel inspired and more confident in you, knowing that you have been to these activities. Yes, it will definitely improve your ranking on Google. But if you are expecting that this kind of this is known as organic push, by regularly updating your website, as opposed to boosting it with Google ads or some sponsored elements. This is an organic growth that you're looking. If you're expecting that will take you all the way to a Google page rank, it takes a lot of effort, and it takes not 10, 20 articles. It will take a whole set of articles, a structured content strategy for a minimum of 3 to 6 months to observe and then bring about some tangible results.
Can you give me a number, approximately how much?
Depends on the
number of articles.
Depends on the specialty and therefore the keyword research. For example, if I am to sit here and talk for a pathologist in this particular area, it's a very crowded area. But somewhere between 50 to 60 articles over a period of 3.5, 4 months, with a proper SEO strategy, without any ads, and constantly monitoring the changes after every article and seeing the results and adjusting or modifying the strategy for the next set of articles could lead to that results. Which means what I'm trying to say is you can't just go and say, hey, give me 60 articles. You're going to take 60 articles and just start posting one article every day and it will just lead to some magical result. No, that's not how it works. Post a few articles, you observe the metrics, you see the strategy, see the keyword research, or you try and find a niche area where the number of competitors are already less, and then that a good content consultant or a good digital marketer would sit and have a conversation with the doctor to understand what is it that they are looking for, which is broadly this. Also, disclaimer, asterisk, as always, fine print, only this will not help. I mean, it would have to be a 360-degree approach with some social media, with maybe LinkedIn, with maybe some digital ads, YouTube, whatever works for that particular specialty. Differs from specialty to specialty, locality to locality. What works in Mumbai does not work in tier 2, for example.
So I think that answers the question why you need a website, which I was about to ask कि भाई क्या जरूरत है बनाने का.
So why you need a website? I think I want to give one very clear answer. Why do you need a board outside your clinic? Why do you need a visiting card? Right? Because you want to announce a version of yourself. You want to convey information about yourself that you have complete control over. If the only presence about you is on some other portal's website where you're subject to ratings or subject to a photo that they have randomly scrapped off the internet of you or mentioned some wrong spelling for you, which then makes sure that you're never in the right search. Or we've had a case where a diabetologist was listed as a general physician on this extremely popular site. A diabetologist in Juhu was unfortunately categorized as a general physician. His name would never come up in the search of diabetologists in that area, even though he was practicing in that area since 3 decades. He was furious about it, right? Now, what does he could hardly exert any control over it. N number of calls to that agency and coordination. It took a very long time to sort it. I wouldn't say it actually got sorted in the right sense. But if you have your site, as we have mentioned in some of our, educational material that we have sent out on LinkedIn and under Technomedics and YouTube, you would have the domain in your control. You're buying that from a verified source, just like your mobile number. Why do you have a mobile number, right? Why not sit with a landline? You have a mobile number to be more accessible. When the doctor shifted from a landline to a mobile, when the doctor shifted from putting flyers for medical camps inside newspapers to now putting out maybe WhatsApp adverts or advertising in certain brochures or wherever it's legally allowed. So this is your digital presence. Your Facebook profile is not yours, it's governed by Facebook policies. Your Instagram profile is not yours. If 10 of us got together and reported it, it might just get blocked and deleted. Your YouTube profile is not yours. Your YouTube channel is absolutely subject to YouTube's policies. Yes, every website is also subject to some policies, but those are broadly about not having certain content and spam and not being a virus, which obviously is not applicable to a doctor. We have a doctor who is very particular about his timings, very particular about his appointment process. Now, if I am a new patient, I call up, and every patient is going to call up, and the doctor or the receptionist is going to keep explaining the same process every single time. It's not possible. What is the next possible? You'll say, okay, आपका phone आया है, मैं आपको ये number पे WhatsApp करता हूँ. The time taken to do that, take that number, copy, then have one message ready. So you did keep one digital message ready, right? You did keep something ready to be able to put on WhatsApp. Your website is the same. The next time the patient searches, he or she has a higher probability of landing on your website directly, getting all that information first, and then contacting you. Or better still, you have built an entire appointment funnel or appointment scheduler system onto your website itself, thus making it so much easier for patients to connect with you directly. I vividly recall this case of a sonologist runs a very reputed lab, but if you go to the Google reviews, you will find so many reviews of negative comments where the patients have alleged that they were quoted a certain amount on the phone when they called the reception for an appointment, and when they went there they were charged a higher amount. Now, difference being, with all due respect, I am in defense of the doctor here because I did try and understand what the problem was. The problem was the receptionist did not ask them the entire details and quoted the lowest base amount. Now, a USG abdomen versus a USG abdomen pelvis is obviously going to cost different. Nothing wrong there. But the point was the patient was not well informed that these two are different. How often can a receptionist keep repeating the same set of things?
Vis-a-vis if same is mentioned on the website.
Same is mentioned on the website. Maybe it's all just displayed as one image. You can be very simple about it. Or there is a drop down where you select what service you're looking for. Again, the patient may not know what they're looking for. But all of this, if it is structured, or like you asked me, if there was an article to each of these, what is USG abdomen pelvis, what is what you can expect to before you come to the clinic, like example, have a 1 liter of water, expect a waiting time of 30 minutes, you may be examined more than once, right? And charges can be varying from this to this, and you have a page dedicated to each of these services. Even if they call the receptionist can just share the link of this particular page, patient can read. We have built something like this for a particular center, and they went one step ahead. They made the whole thing multilingual, so the patient could choose the language they want it in. And recently, after this whole AI thing, there are talks to kind of try and make that into like an audible message with AI voiceover, so the patient can hear about it. But this is the vision with some people or some organizations move forward with and use tech to their advantage. So I think in 2025, to ask why a patient, why a doctor should have a website, why anybody should have a website. When podcasters have their websites, when photographers have their websites, when Instagram influencers have their websites, they also make that on the Linktree thing, if not a whole site. But I've seen so many, hobby photographers who have now gone serious freelancers. They have their websites. As an individual practitioner, lawyers have their websites, right? CAs have LinkedIn pages, and CAs have become LinkedIn influencers in the fintech community. For any doctor, the barrier is just the fact that you've not adopted to tech or not realized what it is that you're missing, and you're letting go. You're allowing some other entity to control your information about who you are, what you practice, what time you're available, what you charge, when you're available, when you're not available, right? So many times we have patients who come in and say, we booked an appointment on XYZ portal, and we are not even registered in the portal. It was not communicated to us that they are going to be present. That mismatch. So, as a doctor, if you truly care about serving and delivering better outcomes for your patients, one of the things in this entire digital sphere, entire domain, like one of the things I would say is a digital appointment system or a EHR or a printout of your prescription, right? These are all things. One of the basic things in that, to start with, I would say, is having a very simple basic website which can be referenced to and which is updated frequently, and most importantly is entirely in your control. Sorry, but you can refer to that and that would be a whole different conversation.
So now I gather that certainly it requires a certain amount of contribution from the doctor also, meaning they have to participate in the process. Having said that, why do you think is this problem and how do we work around this problem?
So you've actually kind of hit the nail on the head as to how we are successful. So one of the chief reasons why what makes technomedics a hit, if I mean without trying to boast about it, but because this is the feedback that I have myself heard so many times from so many doctors, is that they did not have to participate, because for a change they found an agency at the other end who was able to understand their requirements correctly. With no disrespect, but you have a person who does not understand what a doctor's requirement is. You can't have someone who's made a photographer's website make a similar website for doctors where you're showcasing a lot of photos for the doctor. You can't be too sales oriented, you can't be too pushy, you have to be clean, you can't use neon colors, all of these things. So the doctor's participation, what we have experienced is, like we always say, all it takes is one call, one meeting, one call, where we try and understand with the doctor what is it that you're looking for, why are you making a site in the first place. We actually have like a whole flow chart that we take them through, that why are you making the site, क्या चाहिए, ऑब्जेक्टिव क्या है, करना क्या है, पेशेंट्स के लिए है कि समटाइम्स यू हैव डॉक्टर विद 25 years of practice and now he or she is suddenly feeling कि नहीं एक थोड़ा presence होना चाहिए, I want to talk about these good achievements that I've done. Or they're starting a new venture where they're starting a whole set of new process or treatment. I remember this one where they wanted to talk about light therapy and its advantages, and which they have been doing for a while, but they realized that they need to spread awareness, and there's a lot of information that they want to give about. but then it's exhausting to give. So that is when it occurred to them that okay, now we want a website. There was another doctor couple with who were respiratory specialists. Both had a different super specialty, but they wanted to have a lot of FAQs which they were constantly repeating to their patients. Right, so that's when they decided we want it all listed on a web page. They didn't want like a PDF circulating on WhatsApp, which is then misquoted, which is then not updated. Sometimes that message that has been sent 2 years ago is not relevant today, but it's still circulating. So when you have a website, the doctor's participation is honestly very minimal when you're dealing with someone like us, because we have doctors here who understand what is required. So do a lot of other web developers who can guide you in your journey of creating a website, and not just come and say, website, okay, I'm home, about us, contact us, and here you go. No, what is it? What is it that you're trying to convey? What is your ethos? What is your practice experience? What is your philosophy? Every doctor has a philosophy, and again, to bring back, every doctor is a brand in themselves, right? They all have USPs. So if we bring that about, all the doctor has to do is just communicate. Sometimes they give us handwritten descriptions. We have our team of writers who makes it. They don't have to sit and type out all of this. They just have to have a conversation with us, a very similar vartalap like you are having with me now. It's all about having one good, engaging conversation, very similar to homeopathy case taking. Sometimes takes an hour, maybe more, but to understand what is the doctor's requirement, we suggest back certain solutions. 95% of the times they are, like, oh, this is spot on. This is exactly what we were looking for. And then the process starts. We apprise them of the timelines. It goes very smoothly. I think, touchwood, we've had a great journey so far. I think that is the point doctors fear the most, because many times you hear that, "Kyare, I will have to write those blogs." No, you don't necessarily have to write those blogs. You please review the blogs to make sure that they sound right. We discuss the tonality with you. If you feel they are either too formal or they are too informal, we adjust the tonality. That's what it is about, and that's why, because we are able to kind of talk from websites to blogs to social media to designing to videos, we are able to understand the doctor's requirements in almost all perspectives. Doctors need to participate actively and make sure, and I repeat this again and again, that they are buying their own domain and they are in charge of their own server. The number of doctors who have lost out on amazing sites because of some IT issues, whether they got hacked or whether they had a fallout with the IT guy and then lost control of their server or their domain. Uh, I think I hear of one such case almost every quarter, and it saddens me. It's like a scam. It's like how when we learned UPI, we learned certain things. In the digital world, we need to learn this. That keep your domain under your control, buy it in your name, in your own account with your own credit card. For that reason, actually, a couple of months ago, it took us almost a year, but we launched a store on Technomedics where doctors, anybody for that matter, with an international payment gateway, can come and buy their own domain or buy their own server. Many times you have these other sites where it's available at a very low price, and then in fine print it says renewal charges are actually three times what this was, and then the doctor forgets to renew or decides, hey, this is too expensive. So again, a lot of feedback that came from people that you're asking us to buy it from here, but we would be more comfortable buying it from you. And for the longest time, we have been renewing more than 50 domains every year for a lot of doctors. So all of that would come to us, we would renew. But we said, why not give the power back to them? And we created this portal. It's not revolutionary in any sense, but it just offers them the chance to, one, always be in charge of their domain, two, always be in charge of their own server, and three, be very clear about what it is that you're trying to convey and get exactly what it is that you want to convey. Not just because someone XYZ said something, you also want to say something.
I think that pretty much orients someone who's going to watch this podcast, particularly doctors, about what it takes to get into this zone. When I say this zone, meaning that content writing zone. Now, it may sound alien, an alien concept to a doctor, but it is not actually. It is very much part and parcel of the profession now.
Correct.
The experts do it, but then you have to have it, in your internet space.
You have to be present. You have to be. In fact, even a Google My Business listing, Google says if you have a website and you give them the link of that website and you want to integrate your phone number into that Google My Business listing. If that is the same number that is on your site, Google allows you to use that phone number. Otherwise, they don't allow you to use that phone number, because of late many times there have been incidents, where someone put in a fake number, and there was a huge scam happening. Even for some hospitals, there was like an online booking appointment booking number, which was a scamster's number. And I would search like XYZ hospital. I would click on that link on Google, and it would go to the scamster, and scam would say, okay sir, like ₹5 का UPI कर दीजिए appointment confirm करने के लिए, and then the whole scam would start. And this has happened. This has happened to someone I know as well. But that is why, just like the hospital had to then take charge of its own Google listing, the doctor at the very least has to take charge of his or her own website and be digitally present.
That particular example of scam, I think, is very critical. That if you have a website and you have a Google listing with similar phone numbers, that can actually prevent so much damage, which might happen to the reputation. Forget about the money, but
So, see, the reputation, as doctors, our chief concern is always the well-being of the opposite person. Getting scammed, and the amount doesn't end at ₹5, as you know, right? So the mental anguish, the agony, the time taken for that person to ever recover back is also a significant thing, which I feel is the doctor's responsibility in some sense, because they are coming to you. Doctor, hospital, organization, everybody has that moral responsibility. Again, medical legally speaking, also in some sense, it is your responsibility to convey and communicate right to the patient, just like in the consent form. So I don't think it is as easy, although it is still a gray area. You can't just wash off your hands saying, "Pata nahi wo kisi ne kiya hoga" types. Why would you allow someone else to impersonate you, act on your behalf, collect money on your behalf, or guarantee or authorize appointments on your behalf beyond a point? Because then that's not you, right? So you, as a person, as a doctor, as an organization, have to take charge of your Google listing, and having your own site under your control, which is regularly updated. That's where the updated part comes, because if I'm going to go to a site and I see, just like we would see an Insta profile and last post was 2.5 years ago, we are not going to trust that Insta profile, right? So same way, if I see a website and I see last blog post was probably the day the site was launched, because you will go down to the footer and you'll see copyright 2021 and last blog post is June 2021, the site's not been updated after that.
these nuances people don't know. Like particularly that copyright 4 years ago, it seems like it has never been updated.
Never been updated. So, but that is why some articles, even one article a month, just to write about the most exciting case you saw that month, right? Or as doctors, we come across certain things that patients sometimes inadvertently, out of their innocence, do, which is silly, right? Or you felt that this one needs a little more awareness. I should perhaps tell more patients that please don't do this, or please don't have XYZ product, or please be careful, rainy season is coming in. Something like that you just want to communicate. A simple blog post, 250 words, 400 words, 500 words, you don't need to be a writer to do that.
1500 वर्ड नहीं चाहिए मतलब.
इट्स जस्ट अबाउट दिखाना है ना कि हाँ, मैं ये वेबसाइट पे अपडेट हूँ, मैंने यहाँ पे कुछ बोला है. अगेन, आप गूगल रैंकिंग के चक्कर में नहीं हो, तो आप कीवर्ड्स ऐसी हो, लेकिन नहीं बेटा, इट्स योर ओन वॉइस, आपकी अपनी आवाज और रिप्रेजेंटेशन है वहां पे, आप लिख लो. हाँ, दोज हु वांट टू गेट इनटू अ सीरियस स्ट्रेटजी, yes, let's get into strategy and then we decide whether we need 800, 1200, 1500 words. But for every doctor, because like you said, that participation is a roadblock in some sense. Ab likho na, nobody stops you from posting on Instagram, then why are you so hesitant to post on your own website? I'll tell you, I think it just struck me. Most websites don't come with a CMS, a content management system. It becomes too complex. लोगों को अभी भी लगता है कि कोड करना पड़ेगा जाके. अभी कितने इजी टूल्स है. मेजॉरिटी ऑफ अवर साइट्स आर बिल्ट ऑन वर्डप्रेस, वेयर ऑल यू लॉग इन और वहां पे ऐसा वर्ड के डॉक्यूमेंट जैसा आपको दिख रहा है, आप वहां पे पेस्ट कर दो, फॉर्मेटिंग हटा दो, 2-3 इमेज डाल दो. डॉक्टर्स समटाइम्स एंड अप पुटिंग कॉपीराइट इमेजेस ऑन देयर साइट. सो a lot of this we orient them whenever we hand over a site, and supposing they are not looking for a long-term digital marketing strategy, we orient them with these do's and don'ts. We actually provide like a kind of a manual and a walkthrough of their site, where we say, please do not use, if you want to use free copyright free images, then where to search and all of that. But I think it's just about a little, like we say, patient education. I think it's a little about doctor education and awareness to say that websites are not that difficult. You can have a CMS, you can update once in a while, and you can represent yourself better without too much effort. If it's still too much effort, like with everything else in this world, there's always someone else who's going to be happy to do it for you, right? So But yeah, I think it's not too difficult. It's important to retain your identity and be scam proof. For all the content writers, budding content writers, aspiring content writers, I would say, I mean, as a writer myself, the value of a word, a spoken word or a written word, is immense. I am all for writing, right? The pen is mightier than the sword. Now, of course, the keyboard. But I don't think it's just typing words. I think you really deliver a lot of value when there is a particular brand or even a doctor who's trying to convey something. You're giving them a voice. You're conveying a message. The rights and wrongs and the ethics of it are a completely different thing. But what you are out there is you're being the voice for that brand when that particular potential customer is reading about a medtech device, that these are the features, these are the advantages, these are the not so good advantages, or whatever, this is the usage instructions, or whether it's a social media post, or even what we started with, whether it's this, the voice of the actual text that you're giving, which is true, where we don't want, fear mongering happening in some sense, then you are the voice. If you write a fear mongering message, you're going to convey fear and going to try and be a clickbaity message. If you write a scientific, well structured value addition of a blog, it will get shared, it will be useful, it will be liked. So, for the doctor who is just start, whether you're starting your practice or like I mentioned, after about 20, 30 years, you want to make a mark or you're feeling that you want to get onto the tech wave and be a part of it, whatever be the reason, tech is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. AI is not going anywhere. All these tech tools are absolutely here. They are going to evolve. They are evolving faster than sometimes we could imagine. But at the end of the day, they are tools. They are meant to help us. If we learn how to harness them right, if we learn how to use them right, we can use them to our advantage and to our patient's advantage, making sure to decrease the waiting time in your, in your waiting room, to making sure that the prescription is better understood and there is lesser chance of a complication. All of these can be facilitated better by tech tools, making sure they reach and contact you better, they are better oriented in terms of what to expect when they come to you for treatment. All of these can get a huge boost by using the right tech tools. Don't be afraid of tech. We uh, we are too busy in our own practice and trying to learn the tech of sometimes the procedures, sometimes the other basics, and whatever is the simplest possible tool that we find, we just tend to adapt to it and just stay stuck there. But the world keeps evolving at a very different pace. Let's work towards a better tech enabled doctor community as a team, as a community, as a fraternity. We've engaged with doctors from Canada, from Australia, from Germany, from France. No place like India where there are so many doctors, each one sometimes trying to vie for a space up there, to be noticed, sometimes to be heard, sometimes to establish. So much of migration, so many challenges, so many opportunities in those challenges is what we see. So what you do need is a good tech partner. Sometimes I am fortunate to be engaging with so many doctors who are so tech savvy. Some of them are actually into AI, and I get to learn so much from them. Some of them have built few more companies of their own and are doing a fabulous job. And when we get together, there's so much of information that is being exchanged. I think I think there's a lot of learning that we can do without going total deep dive like some of us have done because of our pursuits. But in our CMEs, in our conferences, I think we should normalize talking about tech, but more importantly, that tech should be from a medical perspective and not just random tech. The way a particular payment gateway portal is useful for a small company selling hair care products is not the same way a payment gateway portal is useful for a doctor. The way a credit card scanning machine is useful at a petrol pump, for the tap, is not the same way it is going to be used at a doctor. The charges sometimes are exorbitantly expensive for a doctor. So to understand the nuances of the tech, what is useful where, the the discussions that we have should be medically oriented, and therefore medtech, and therefore of course that's why we are called technomedics. Sorry for that shameless plug maybe, but medtech has a very different niche. Like fintech is there, there's health tech, there's medtech, there's medtech devices which follow completely different norms and processes and protocols as opposed to your regular device which you can get off the street. So let's have better conversations, more empowering conversations about tech that are better driven to make us perform more efficiently by saving our time in doing things that can be automated, for example, and we can focus better on diagnosis, on patient care, on conversing better with the patient, on taking some time off because there are some tasks being handled, and relaxing ourselves. At the end of the day, as a doctor, I would want to tell other doctors we do know how stressful it can get at times, and we want to care for our own fraternity as well.
Fantastic, extremely illuminating, and like always, I say, very happy to have this conversation with you. Looking forward to more such. Do mention in the comments what is that you learned from this entire conversation, what is that you would like to learn more. Because the more you engage, we get a better feedback and we know what to serve you in the future. So, thank you, Dr. Suraj, for being part of Homeomitra Vartalap. Looking forward to having more Vartalap with you in the future.
Absolutely, Dr. Gior. Actually, it's an honor and a pleasure to be back here with you for the first time. We are doing it face to face. The last time was a virtual session, which just shows how empowering this can be and your beautiful journey. More power to Homeomitra Vartalap always. I am an ardent follower and I love the way you bring out such interesting conversations. It just shows that while we are all bonded or bound by this one common thread of being doctors, there's so much that each one of us, have a perspective in some sense or have a specialty in some sense. And some of the doctors that you've discussed with in the past, it has been a very enlightening experience for me. It just kind of motivates me to do better. And I hope that what we discussed today is valuable to your very very loyal listeners and followers. Thank you for the opportunity. Looking forward again whenever you think we can serve the community better, at your service.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.